Howdy race fans, welcome to my little show about motorsports I like to call In the Pits with me, StockCar Scott, here each Wednesday on YouTube during racing season when I feel like it. This week there just wasn't much racing on TV. NBCSN had NASCAR Sprint Cup practice and Xfinity practice and qualifying on Friday prior to their Olympic stuff, and then later NBCSN also showed the K&N Pro East-West 150 at Iowa, won a few weeks ago by K&N West standout Todd Gilliland. We will get to see Todd and other K&N West stars race the big 5/8 mile track this weekend out at Evergreen Speedway up in Monroe for 150 laps before the rescheduled Galloway 150 super late model event and an unnecessary 30-lap street stock feature. And then before the K&N West 150, there will be also another unnecessary 30-lap mini stock feature that was probably left over from before the Galloway 150 was rescheduled for that date. But as I said last week, somebody wants to race in that mini stock race, and somebody is cheering for a driver in that street stock race. So just because those races don't mean that much to me, it doesn't mean that those races don't matter. All races matter. So maybe you'll join me this weekend in Monroe and watch some racing that matters. You could very well be seeing some of the real future stars of NASCAR this weekend at Evergreen Speedway. As for NASCAR this past weekend, it's back to Watkins Glen. Saturday, the Xfinity race was on as I traveled to Yakima for the 6th race of the West Coast Late Model Series Brawl for It All 100. I saw later that the Joker had won the Xfinity race after his teammate, Bad Brad Keselowski, broke a track bar mount. Also, I saw it was actually a Xfinity race instead of a Busch race for a change, because while the Toad was in the Watkins Glen minor league race, he got wrecked early and wasn't really a factor Saturday in the road race. Dale Jr.'s driver, Elliott Sadler, he finished 6th in the number 1 Camaro, and he still leads the Xfinity driver points as they're going into their next road course race there at Mid-Ohio next Saturday. But I'll just have to miss it there on live TV on USA Network instead of NBCSN. I'll miss it there so I can get out early to Evergreen Speedway for the big K&N Pro West 150 and Galloway 150 races. The other NASCAR race at Watkins Glen was on Sunday, and Dale Jr. didn't race again. But I watched it anyway, because all races matter. Because Dale Jr. was still out. Jeff Gordon got his 800th Sprint Cup start, but he didn't do a lot with it, finishing 14th behind his old car, driven by my oldest brother's new favorite, rookie Chase Elliott. And I do believe he was highest finishing rookie at 13th. Relatively speaking, though, Happy Harvick wasn't real happy, my younger brother's favorite driver. And my wife's Biffle didn't fare too well. They were both back in the 30s. In fact, I think Biffle was like 39th. The favorite driver of Nick, my old Water Boys cohort, you know, that show that I post on Thursdays for Throwback Thursday. Well, little Denny Hamlin is his favorite driver. And little Denny Hamlin won the race for his first road course win. Now, with Harvick's bad day and Bad Brad's 3rd place finish, Keselowski now assumes the driver's points lead, with the next race being in a couple of weeks at Bristol still without Dale Jr. The big event for me this weekend, though, was the West Coast Late Model Series 100-lap brawl for it all last Saturday night in beautiful Yakima, the Palm Springs of Washington. It was the race number 6 of the Better All Auto Sales Twisted Tea West Coast Late Model Series, but first came the dashes, heats, and mains for all the other divisions. During the Hobby Stock A Trophy Dash, they call them Super Stock there, but during their A Trophy Dash, things got a little heated when 2 fast cars got together in turn 3 on the white flag lap of that Trophy Dash. After the West Coast Late Model dashes that were won by rookie challenger Chad Ayers and the veteran Jungle Jim Franklin, I heard on the PA Rita Trujillo calling me, StockCar Scott, to the announcer's booth. When I arrived, she introduced me to Mike Blakely, and it's the first time I'd met him, even though we've been friends on Facebook for a while. And I'll just call Mike Blakely the sheriff, because the little Alabama town where I grew up had and still has a sheriff named Mike Blakely. Well, the sheriff needed some evidence to close a case, and I was the one with said evidence in the form of my video. After we watched the Hobby Stock A-Dash over and over, like Kevin Costner with the Zapruder film in JFK, back and to the left, back and to the left, one of the competitors was parked for the night, but not to be outdone, the slighted party left the track, still in possession of one of the track transponders, and now they're in more trouble. Always remember, folks, cooler heads prevail. So take the time to return to room temperature before taking action you might regret. Still, it was fun to get to be part of the night of racing there while it was actually still happening. And if the sheriff ever needs evidence again, he can just call on me. I'll be right there. After the fun, the preliminary races wound down with Mike Hill winning the Hobby Stock main, and a couple of my favorites to watch, Cheyenne Trujillo and Scott Burby, ran well in the Mini Stock and Hornet divisions. An interesting finish in the Mini Stock feature led the crowd to soundly boo the winner. I thought 2 drivers might come to blows there after the race, and the crowd sounded like they wanted blood. Things had a chance to return to an ambient temperature before the main event. The brawl for it all 100 for the Better All Auto Sales Twisted Tea West Coast Late Model Series. There were 21 various driver car combinations that took time and lined up for the evening's feature race. Though my favorite, Buck Knoll Jr., set fast time, after the invert, Rich Peters wound up on the pole and decided to take the Evan Williams Run to the Front challenge for the chance to win an additional $400 if he was able to make his way back to the front and win the race. Unfortunately, that did not happen because Rich had engine problems that put him out of the race, even though he was running up in the top 5 by about lap 30. He was running real well. So the Evan Williams Run to the Front money will roll over for the next race at Evergreen in a couple of weeks to tempt someone to accept the $450 challenge. So the brawl for it all started with Andy Beeman and Kyler Condiff on the front row, with Condiff leading early in the race. Beeman was able to get around kind of on an early restart and was joined in the battle for the front spot by Buck Knoll Jr. and Randy Marshall Jr. By lap 30 or so, Randy had gotten around his two main rivals there for the evening and began to stretch out his lead as the cautions would allow, while Andy and Bucky battled for the other two podium spots, with Andy finishing second and Buck Knoll finishing in third. The fourth place was the top finishing rookie, winner of the first trip to the Hermiston Super Oval, Doug Poirier. And fifth was another of the Mid-Columbia Rookie challengers there, young Max the Dude Schroeder. Yeah, it was good to see him run well there in the number 29. The West Coast late models sure have a really strong rookie class this season. And by the way that the point system is structured, there is still many of the top rookies that have a chance to win. Top 4 or 5 of them still really have a shot. So, Randy Marshall Jr. becomes the first repeat winner this year for the West Coast Late Model Series, and Jungle Jim Franklin is on top of the driver's points tally with an even 400 points. The next West Coast Late Model Series event is a little closer to me in Seattle with the Trax Racing 100 on August 20th at Evergreen Speedway in Monroe, Washington, where U.S. Highway 2 and Washington State Highway 522 collide, or so I've heard on the commercial. They will also have the Northwest Pro 4 trucks, as well as Hornets, and 3 divisions of Figure 8 racing. Well, all races matter. Okay. But before all that racing on August 20th comes the big K&N West race this weekend out at Evergreen, along with the postponed Galloway 150. So it should be a great night of racing out at the Super Speedway of the West. In fact, tickets are very reasonably priced at $25 for adults. So it would be a great time to drag a non-racing friend, if you happen to have any of those, to the track and show them what all the fun is about. Of course, as with anything, it's not always just fun and racing. This past week, the racing community lost another of the shining stars of the sport that we love, while racing at the Winged Sprint Car Belleville Nationals at Kansas this past week. Driver Brian Clausen was critically injured in a really bad crash and succumbed to those injuries on Monday. He was 27 years old. Clausen had a few Xfinity starts in NASCAR and 3 starts in the Indianapolis 500. He also had a really nice smile. Well, life in racing goes on, and there will be racing to see this weekend at Evergreen, and that's where I will be if you wish to join me. At South Sound Speedway this weekend are monster trucks on both Friday and Saturday, and I think they also have some other Hornet racing and Legends, maybe things like that. But if that's more your thing, head on south. But you know where I'll be. I'll be where the fast cars are on the big track this weekend, because that's what I like to see. You know, because I'm StockCar Scott, and this is my little show about motorsports. I like to call In the Pits, where you can join me next week on Tuesday at a different stock car time because of the midweek Camping World truck race at Bristol coming up next Wednesday, but on the same stock car channel right here on YouTube, if I feel like it. Thank you, race fans, for watching this week. Now, go see some racing. Go see some racing. The K&N race should really be good. And, it's about as close as NASCAR gets around here. So go see some racing.